Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Leave a comment if you want to. Right here I'm just showing you how I'm using my UNT or UNT, I don't know how to peel off base coat before I start applying my nails. So I just do 2 coats and let it air dry, and then I glue on my tips. The tips I'm using today are the Kiara Sky extra long coffin tips. Those tips are really, really good tips. And I'm using Young Nails glue, and so I just show you a couple of the tips here. We're going to be doing an anti-Valentine set. That's what I set out to do, where I did some foils, some hearts, encapsulation, and some ombre cutouts. Not really color blocking, but like ombre shaping of the nail, I guess. And then a little bit of disco liner. So here is going to be Notpolish's Transfer Foil Gel. You want to put a very thin layer on, cure it for 30 seconds, not 60 or 2 minutes, just 30 seconds. Apply your foil, rub it in, and you don't have to rub it in very hard or for a very long time. I tried a million different transfer gels before I found this one, and it's just so easy. It works so easy. I'm going to be doing this on my ring finger and index finger, and I was just showing you Notpolish Matte It, because when you get your nail foil pulled off the nail, you need to cover it with a gel top coat. So matte it or gloss it. I chose matte it because I wanted a smooth surface to apply my acrylic over. If you don't cover the foil with a gel polish, when you're finished applying the foil, as soon as you put monomer or acrylic on top of that to go finish your nail, it's going to melt all your work. Your foil will melt off. So that is what you see me doing here, is just covering it with this gel. That's just creating a protective barrier between the design you just made and what you're going to be putting on top of it. So there it is, out of the light. Next thing we're going to do is go in with our acrylic application. I'm going to be using Notpolish Black and Kiara Sky Clear. Since I am using black, I'm going to be protecting my natural nail. Even though I have a peel-off base coat, I'm going to put a layer of clear on my natural nail on all my fingers. So I only showed you one, but I did do it on all. It's hard. I would not say black acrylic is hard to work with, but it's hard to apply black acrylic near the cuticle area. It's very easy to get it on your skin. It's very easy to struggle near the cuticle area because you want it to be just in that perfect spot, but you're kind of leery of putting it where you would put a normal bead because you don't want it staining your skin or flooding. So I do experience that every time I apply it, no matter how long I do nails for. So after I get these on, you do not need to cap this in clear. Notpolish colored acrylics don't need to be capped, but I do cap a couple of these in clear for 3 different reasons. One, when I was trying to get too close to the cuticle, or close enough to the cuticle, I added another bead, and there was this very apparent line between, like right here. You can see where I started that bead lower than the one that was there. Well, when it dries, there's that definition where you can see where each bead has dried. So I just put a layer of clear over that to just blend that in. That's number 1. Number 2, sometimes you need a little bit of shaping. Like you might be missing a spot toward the center. It's easier to just put a little clear layer if it's not going to be a lot, than getting your black out again and hoping you don't make a mess. And then also for clear capping and encapsulating designs. So right here I'm using Profiles Backstage little foils that I showed you, or I will show in a minute in that little packet. They're very thin and they're sticky and they work really well. I didn't show you doing this on the whole finger or both fingers because I do have this before on my channel and it gets repetitive. So then I'm going to go ahead and cap my design in clear. One tip I can give you for this is, if you are going right in with foil, wait until your acrylic is dry, because as you start manipulating that foil and patting it and pushing it around, if your acrylic is still wet, like that black acrylic, you're going to be pushing and moving around and causing little paintbrush marks in that acrylic if you don't wait for it to be dry. So this time, capping in clear, I use the Kiara Sky Clear, which from my part 1 and part 2 videos on testing how clear acrylics really are. I learned that out of all the clear acrylics I own, my Chiara Sky is the clearest, and when working with black or lace or something like this, I really wanted it to be A, thin, and B, really, really clear and see-through. So I did only use a very thin layer. I didn't go into building a large apex on these nails. Number 1, they're pop-off. Number 2, they're for content. And number 3, them being really long coffin, I just thought they looked better just kind of being slim all around. I don't show you, I don't think, all of the application on this one. I mean the foils and stuff, because I had just shown you on the index finger. This foil, this lace foil, I did get also from Profiles Backstage. And I also wanted to mention, when you're building a nail like this where you have like a void, okay, you're putting acrylic everywhere but where you have the foil, because you're going to build that part up with clear. It helps if you visualize what your nail shape will look like. So in other words, if you go really, really thick with your black, then you're going to have to go thicker with your clear when you're encapsulating the foil and lace. So try to picture what you want your nail shape to be, and that will help you know how thick and where to put your black, if that makes sense. Another thing that I do a lot is wipe the acrylic off my sides, so then I have to go back and put more. And when I was learning in the beginning, I would do that, and I would put a bead there, and then I would have a thick side, which defeated everything that I had just done. So what I learned to do was what's called float or paint the acrylic. So I get a really wet bead like you saw me do there along the side. This is what I'm talking about, where you can see me shaping my nail from the side. Now I know my nail is going to have the right structure and shape, even though half of it doesn't have acrylic on it yet, if you see what I'm saying. Here's where I'm capping in clear just to smooth out and cover any globs of black that might have dried strangely. But floating and or painting the acrylic, you just get a very wet bead and you just guide it along the edge where you want, and when it dries, you're good to go. You have to be pretty wet with it though, and really, really float your brush across it, because if you do kind of paint it, that also wipes it off. So I went in with my usual liquid powder ratio to cap these, but I do a little bit of floating in some areas. I call it floating, I'm not really sure what it is. But again, I wanted these thin, so. And this nail, I'm gonna do an ombre or a fade. So when this, I'm just gonna pull this black down to leave the bottom half of my nail kind of clear, because then I'm going to be putting black and gold hearts along this. So it's usually easier when you start building your nail from the top instead of putting your hearts on first. I've just learned, for me, that's easier. And I usually lay a small layer, a small bead of clear acrylic, so that my hearts stick where I want them to. It's also helpful before you go in with more acrylic, once you've done this, that you let these hearts dry, you know, kind of the clear acrylic dry, so that the hearts don't move around when you encapsulate them. So I believe while this is drying, I go on to the pinky nail.